right, so we're going to show you a different type of fencing here than perimeter fencing or polywire for cattle. This is actually a poly net, and there's a lot of varieties of poly net. There's poly net that's like 4 feet tall for sheep or goats with wider squares. There's poly net that's again 4 feet tall with smaller squares, especially towards the bottom, small rectangles for poultry. In this case, this is a pig quick fence. And so it's for pigs. And all of these work in the same way, where you have braided fence with a stainless steel wire, multiple stainless steel wires going through those poly braids that conducts electricity. So it's an electric fence, but it's a mesh, so it's easier to see for the animals, and it's also not easy for them to push through it. So something like a sheep, which has a lot of wool and wool doesn't conduct electricity well, we'll have to put a lot more pressure into this fence to get through it, which will then eventually give them a zap. And so they learn it, they see it, and like all electric fences, it's a memory fence. And so once they get zapped a few times with the electricity, then they decide, I'm not going to go back in. And by the way, the electric shock isn't the worst shock. I've gotten shocked many times. It kind of feels like somebody punched you in the arm. So it's not, I don't consider it a cruel thing. And when you think about what happens to an animal when it gets out of the fence, there's a lot of unpleasant things that can happen. So this works well. I like it. We use it for our pigs when we do raise pigs, which we just don't do that often for other reasons. But what I like about this when we are raising pigs is we grow vegetables. And I cannot have pigs get out on the farm. It just cannot happen, because a pig that we're raising for ourselves getting out into our greenhouse could be thousands of dollars of loss in terms of vegetables. And so we don't want that, and this works really well. The other thing I like about this pig fence is it slides up. So if pigs move sod or dirt onto it, you can slide it up and adjust where the electricity is so you're not shorting out. So it works really well. Biggest thing with this is you got to pick it up. So it's designed so you can move animals around, you can separate your paddocks, you can reduce the impact on your soil. Especially with pigs, which cause a lot of damage to soil. This allows us to reduce that impact, and so you can move it around. To do that, what you do is you pick them up, you fold them down, and then you do that for the whole fence. You grab your poles, make sure that you're not looping fence under these spikes. You want those spikes to be free. Like, I wouldn't want to do this, because that's going to make a big tangle later on when I try to open this back up. So I want to make sure that all my spikes are clear. I also want to make sure that my top is clear, and then again I just fold this under. And you do that for the whole fence, and when you're done you can roll it up. So that's how you maintain poly netting in a good way. And then when you get it into your barn for the winter, make sure it's not in an area where mice are just going to create a whole mess of a mouse nest in it. So it works great. It's a great product, and I'd encourage folks to use it who are grazing with sheep or poultry. But it's not the cheapest investment. I mean, this pig net is about 65 bucks. A poultry net's going to be 150, 180. A sheep net's probably going to be like 120 bucks, depending on the length you get and how many electric conductors. But I do think they're really worth it if it fits with your system and your livestock type. The last thing I'll mention is if your animals are getting out of your electric fence, it's usually not because your fence is poor, it's because they're hungry. And so the whole idea with this grazing system, be it pigs or sheep or cattle with electric fence and rotational grazing, is you are moving your animals before they get hungry, before they say, I'm hungry enough that I need to go through that fence to get what's over there. You want to be proactive and move them before that happens. So if you're saying, well, my animals always get out, well, it's not necessarily your fence's problem. It is your lack of what they need in that area. And so we're creating that with this rotational grazing. We're creating, whether it's pigs or sheep or cattle or what, we are creating lush forage by this regrowth process that occurs in the time period when we're not grazing. So we graze for a short period of time, a day or two, and then we let it regrow. And then it always is tasty.